Somewhere I Belong, Chapter 13, Reward, Part 1. The next few days went by fairly quickly, as Isaac finished with the seemingly endless amount of paperwork for purchasing the property his house had landed on. The princess was kind enough to help out with the expenses, and she managed to get the local construction crew to connect the water pipelines and the solar panels to his house. Isaac helped the crew with placing the solar panels on the roof of his house. To help soak up the sun's energy, the ponies used to power their electric equipment. Luna was steadily teaching Isaac the basics of magic. He had gotten the hang of telekinesis quickly and practiced it quite often around his home. Isaac stood at his stove with 2 eggs in one pan and bacon sizzling in another. He looked at the clock and realized it was around 8:30 a.m. He turned away as he heard a knock on the door. The human hurried over and opened it to see Spitfire smiling at him. "Hey Spitfire, what's up?" "Nothing much. I was in the neighborhood and I thought I'd stop in and say hi," she said as she walked inside. Isaac noticed she was wearing a pair of royal blue shorts and a gray Wonderbolts t-shirt. "So this is what a human's house looks like. Cool. How do you know where I live?" "I heard a rumor going around that some weird house came out of nowhere and landed in Ponyville. I figured either you or one of your friends had something to do with it," she said with a chuckle. She then sniffed the air. "What's that smell?" "I was just having breakfast. Want some?" "Sure, I haven't eaten yet," she said as she followed the human into the kitchen. She sat down across from the human as he put a plate down in front of her on a circular table. "What's sizzling?" "That is bacon. Can I try some?" she asked. Isaac looked at her in surprise. "Sure, I guess. You should know it's made from pig." "Ponies can eat meat, remember?" "Just wanted to let you know," he said as he handed her a strip. The mare sniffed it and took a bite from the strip of meat. Spitfire's eyes widened at the flavor. "This tastes awesome," she said as she devoured the rest of her food. Isaac did the same to his and put the dishes in the sink. "So, did you want to do something?" "Yeah, I kept thinking of a way to pay you back for saving me, and I think I've got something," the human groaned. "Spitfire, you don't have to do anything for me. I still feel like I owe you something, and trust me, you're going to love it," she said with a grin. Isaac looked at her with a blank expression on his face. "Just hear me out first, okay?" "Fine. How would you like to be a Wonderbolt?" The human looked at her in confusion. Don't I need to have wings to become one?" he asked as he pointed to the mare's wings. "You'll become an honorary Wonderbolt. You'll be considered a Wonderbolt in title, but you won't have to go to any of the shows or do any stunts." Isaac thought to himself for a moment. "I am the captain, and I'm sure my manager would agree to it." "How many honorary Wonderbolts are there?" "Not that many. Honorary Wonderbolts still have to prove themselves on the training course and pass a series of tests." Isaac raised his eyebrow at the mayor's words. "And if you don't pass, then there's no repercussions." "And if I do pass?" "Then you will get a Wonderbolt uniform fitted to your body, a badge that will get you into all the exclusive places we get into, and the title itself," she said with a grin. "What are these tests?" "Physical strength, speed, maneuverability, combat, and a few others," she said with a shrug. "Why not? I had nothing planned today anyway." "Awesome," she said as she got to her feet. "Let me just check something," he said as he started to walk upstairs. "Can you go get a cloud and bring it down here?" Spitfire nodded and flew out of the door into the sky. Isaac walked into his room and opened the closet. He pulled out a black bag and removed the contents. A black sleek backpack that had a hard plastic surface on the outside and drawstrings on the shoulder pads. He put the object on his back and walked back down to see the golden mare waiting for him. Isaac gave her a nod and saw that the white fluffy cloud was right beside her. The human took a breath and climbed on top of the cloud and stood on it. "Looks like I got Luna's cloud walking powers too." "I thought you said that humans couldn't walk on clouds," Spitfire said as she looked at the human. "Twilight put a spell on me that allows me to do so." He lied. The mare nodded her head and noticed the pack on his back. "What's that thing?" "Insurance," he said as he hopped off the cloud. "Dumb question. Where is the training course?" "In Cloudsdale," she said as she pointed towards the sky. "Right. How am I going to—" Gah! He was cut off as Spitfire grabbed Isaac under the arms and took flight. Isaac held on to the mare for dear life as she picked up speed. The two quickly made their way towards a cluster of clouds that seemed to take the shape of a city. The two bypassed it and landed on a cloud that was significantly longer and was complete with a terrace and an airstrip. Spitfire set the human down on the cloud. "Don't Do that, he yelled as he caught his breath. Oh, suck it up, you big fool, she teased. We're here. As she started to walk up the steps to what looked like an office, Isaac pulled his hood up and followed the mayor inside. Isaac kept his head held low and avoided any unwanted attention. Spitfire stopped and unlocked a door to reveal a lounge area with several other blue-suited Pegasi. The golden mare walked up to Soren with a smile on her face. Hey, Soren. Hey, boss. What's up? He asked. I was thinking we put Isaac here through the ringer and see about making him an honorary Wonderbolt, she said as the other bolts looked at the human. What is he? One of them asked. He's a human, the one I told you about. Their heads immediately perked up. You're the guy that saved Spit. Yeah, Isaac said as he removed his hood. The other ponies looked at him in surprise and amazement. Soren scratched his chin and gave a shrug. You got my vote. All he has to do now is pass the tests and he's in. Sweet, let's get you some gear, Spitfire said as she took him by the arm and pulled him out of the room and back down the hall. Soren looked at the other bolts and smirked. He's gonna get burned, isn't he? One of them chimed. Oh yeah, he's doomed, Soren said with a smile. Isaac followed Spitfire into a workout area that was complete with weight machines, treadmills, and several other devices. Isaac removed his hood and the bag he had on his back. Spitfire walked over to one of the machines and pressed a few buttons. Stretch out while I get this thing up. Isaac nodded and did a series of push-ups, jumping jacks, and crunches. Okay, this thing is ready for you. Isaac nodded and walked over to the mare. Isaac laid down on the bench press and put his hands on the bar. Minimum to lift is 85 pounds. That's it. Hey, Pegasi may be fast, but we're not as strong as Earth ponies, she said as she spotted the human. Isaac lifted the bar off the stand and started to lift the weight with ease. You're stronger than you look, Spitfire said, sounding impressed. Isaac set the bar on the holder and got to his feet. Thanks, He was cut off as he felt dizzy and stumbled. Spitfire caught him and eased him down onto the bench. You okay? Yeah, must be the thin air, not used to being up this high, he said as he slowed his breathing. Right, I totally forgot that non-Pegasi have issues with the altitude, she said as she facepalmed. Sorry. It's fine, he said as he caught his breath. Take 5. I'm going to stretch out, she said as she walked over and grabbed a yoga mat. Wait, what? He thought as he looked over and saw the orange mare remove her gray shirt to reveal a tight-fitting black sports bra. Isaac's jaw dropped as she started doing splits. As her legs spread apart, she bent her back so that the base of her wings were touching the mat. Isaac felt his face flare up as the mare tilted her head back and looked at him. What? Nothing. Just surprised to see how flexible you are, he said as he averted his eyes. Were you thinking dirty thoughts? She teased. No. Yes. Whatever, she said as she got to her feet. You passed the strength training, now into the sparring training, she said as she slung the gray shirt over her shoulder and led the man out of the room. As they walked through the hallway, Isaac noticed that several stallions and mares' wings sprang up as they saw Spitfire walking down the hall with Isaac following. As they were walking down the hallway, Isaac couldn't help but notice that Spitfire's tail was swishing from left to right each time she took a step. The two walked into a padded room where Soren and a few other trainees were sitting down as Soren lectured. He saw Spitfire enter the room and gave her a wave. The two made their way over to the group, who looked at Isaac in surprise. Hey, Soren, what's going on? We were about to test hand-to-hand combat. You want in? Maybe later, but Isaac could use the practice. What? The human said in surprise. You need it on the checklist, she said with a smug grin. Isaac let out a groan and walked up to Soren. Okay, every pony, this is Isaac. He is the one that saved Spitfire from drowning last week. The ponies looked at him in surprise. So what are you guys doing? Submission grapples. Isaac gave him a nod. Firewind, show him what you've got. The yellow Pegasus stallion with a red mane got to his feet. The two got into a fighting position. Okay, no kicks, punches, or biting, he said as the two gave a nod. Okay, go. The yellow stallion lunged at the man. Isaac grabbed his right arm and brought it behind his back. Isaac then took his other hand and grabbed the back of his neck and forced him to the ground. The yellow stallion grunted and tapped on Isaac's arm. The human let go of the stallion and backed away as he cracked his back. Wow, he heard one of the trainees say. Impressive. Mind showing us any more other moves? Soren asked as he entered the small ring. "Sure," he said as he cracked his knuckles. The two circled the mat as a brown Pegasus stallion entered the room. His eyes narrowed on the human.